Hello, everybody. I am yet again Price McKinney, simply put, and as always, I want to thank you for tuning in and listening. Before I go another further, if you have not already, go to YouTube, like, subscribe my podcast. This is the Simply Put podcast with Price McKinney. That is the Simply Put podcast with Price McKinney on YouTube. Like, subscribe, watch a video, comment if you will. If you want to, that's great. And I'll definitely get it. So, again, uh, Simply Put podcast with Price McKinney and like, subscribe. That way you get all of the latest updates and notifications from the Simply Put podcast. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, the same thing, Simply Put with Price McKinney. So, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here today. So, today we're going to talk about it is not a competition. Ma'am, sir, whatever whatever phase or stage of relationship that you're in, it is not a competition. Okay. The person that you're with is not your rival. You don't have to do a standoff or face off. It is not a competition. And if you are seeing your significant other or the person you're trying to pursue or be with as your opponent and not a companion or a partner, Houston, you have a problem. It's it, when you understand who you are and what you're here for. And I've said this before in one of my previous videos. You got to know who you are. That's a key to this because when you don't have an identity, you don't know what your role is, you don't know what your place is, you don't know what your assignment is. You don't really know how you fit or mesh with this particular individual because it's very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult to join and align with somebody when you don't know who you are. That determines which way you go, and you wind up getting caught in the mix of being defined by somebody else's opinion. And that is very difficult because at some point, be it sooner or later, you will discover this ain't who I is. And when you get to that point, there's going to become a clash of the titans internally first because you realize, okay, everything that I've been doing has nothing to do with me. And you've been putting all of this time, energy, money, trips, outings, whatever the case may be, into this particular person. And a lot of what you have done was simply to appease them, and that's good to a degree. But when it does not benefit both parties, because it's not just one, you're not in it by yourself. And here's another thing that you have to consider, and why it shouldn't be a competition, and why you. It's not about I. That is a relationships. Please hear me. Will teach you how selfish you really are, especially if you've been single for a long time and somebody else comes in and invades your space or comes into your territory. You quickly realize just how much I don't know if I can deal with this. Sometimes it becomes, and it's not that the person is bad. It's not that the person is bad for you. You've just been so used to it being I or me, whichever one you want to call it. When you get involved with someone, it becomes we. Now, I'm not saying jump the gun. I would never recommend that. I'm not saying jump the gun, dive into the relationship or whatever it is head first. I'm not saying that at all. As I always say, give it time. Give yourself time. Give the person time to make sure that everything is going to be what you need it to be. Everything's going to be what that person needs it to be. And you work together. If you don't have somebody you can work together with, then you don't have a problem. If you have somebody that you don't even like the person, why waste your time? But it has to become a joint team effort. It can't just be, all about you, and it can't just be all about him or her. Both of you all have to work together. It is not about I, just you, sir, just you, ma'am. You have to consider the other person. And if one person is giving and doing most of the work and the other person is just sitting receiving, being a recipient, it's lopsided, and that is going to run you into a problem sooner than later. You cannot run a car. You cannot run a car off of gas that ain't there. You've got to pull over and get a fill up. So if you're not if you're not getting anything from it, nothing is being put back into you. And I'm not saying that you have to be just completely refilled. I'm not saying that at all. But at some point, you've got to get something out of it. So understand again. Now, let me say this too. Friendly competition is fine. For example, I love cooking. I love cooking. I'm not the size that I am because I starved to death. That's that's not how this works. I love cooking, especially grilling. Now, if somebody comes in, and let me be clear, I'm single. But if my significant other comes in and we're going along, whatever, and she loves cooking too, I am highly competitive. Let's not get it twisted, and I understand that. But if we go into the kitchen, it's not going to turn into a freaking war because she cooks her dish her way. I cook the same dish my way. And we may go into a little friendly spat, but I promise you, I'm not going to allow it to turn into a freaking face off over food. That ain't finna happen. That is ridiculous. So friendly competitions are good. I love dressing. Dressing nice. So if I put on something and she comes out and she wants to color coordinate, hey, cool. I'm going to win this, and she thinks she's going to win. Something like that. I'm cool with that. But competition that turns into where you feel like the other person is your opponent. Folks, let's not do that. There's enough that we have to deal with life itself versus having to come home and fight and go at it and face off, as I said, or look at the person as this is my rival, this is my competition. I've always got to one up you and whatever you do, and you have to be careful with that. This is why I say it's not a competition, because if the person starts feeling like you're putting them down or diminishing them or belittling them, you got a whole nother problem. So keep it simple, folks. Your relationship is, you're not going to war. And if you're in a war now, let's not get it twisted. Let's be realistic. Life happens to everybody. Nobody exempt. I don't saved, unsaved, full of hell, full of the Holy Ghost. It don't matter. High income, low income, no income. Life happens to everybody. Nobody is exempt. But what I am saying is, you in dealing with life, that's one thing. But just constantly going at it just because, and when you back up and look at it, you're arguing and going at it over something stupid that doesn't even have to be. You're wasting your time. Two things we don't get back in this world is time and words. Once today is 6:22 p.m. on whatever date this is, October the 21st, 22nd, whatever date, 21st. It will never be that again. The words that I say, that I'm speaking now, once they come out, I can't reel them back in. I can't put them in a cup, pour them out, and put them in something else. Once they're out, they're out. That's why you have to be careful about what you say. Think before you speak. Think before you speak. And you have to be mindful of the fact, if I say this to this person, and I say it this way, how are they going to feel? Flip the script. If they say it to me the way I say it to them, what's that going to turn into? So again, it's not competition. It's not just about you. It's not just about me. It is about we. It is about us. And learn, if you don't know, learn, figure out who you are so you can set boundaries where you don't have these competitions, where you don't have these rifts, where you feel like you're getting lost in the shuffle and because you don't have an identity. You've not figured out who you are, and you've attached everything that you are to the person that you're with. All right. So again, it is not a competition. Work together, not against. Again, I'm Price McKinney. Simply Put, I want to thank you for listening. Again, Simply Put podcast on YouTube. Like, subscribe, get the latest updates and notifications. And again, I'm not an expert. I just know what I know, and I promise you, I'll see you soon.